right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to tonight's training with Honeywell. We are pleased to have Gary Crosby. We are going to talk about some exciting things in the world of RedLink and what's going on with Honeywell. Gary, welcome, by the way.
How are you?
So you've done these before.
I have.
I've never asked this. Like, what's your favorite part about doing these trainings here?
When I'm done and I can go home. I'm kidding.
All right, way to lead it off great. And here's Gary.
Actually, if is Constantino on today?
Oh, I'm sure.
One of my favorite things is my playful banter with Constantino from St. Louis.
He's great.
Got the best name in heating and air, by the way.
So, and Gary, as you know, and for everyone here and attending online, this is meant to be interactive. So you have the option to ask Gary questions live about the presentation. We will get to those as quick as possible. If there's some questions that you want addressed immediately, we will stop the presentation. So please don't hesitate. You can cut him off. He can handle it. But Gary, what do you want to come out of this training? Like, what's your goal tonight?
So tonight's training we got a topic that we're specifically covering.
Okay.
It's RedLink versus Wi-Fi in light commercial spaces, okay? Because I got a lot of people call me daily, and it's like, when is it safe to use a Wi-Fi thermostat in a commercial space, and when should I not use it? Because there's times when you just should not use Wi-Fi in a commercial building. You can, but there's a lot of things you got to do to make it work. So we're going to go through all that, right? And then go through some other things that you may not have known that the RedLink system will allow you to do, because awesome. Most of the time, 90% of my time is spent with my residential partners, even though I do have some commercial capabilities with some of my controls.
Sure.
So we'll go through that.
And a reminder too, if for whatever reason you get cut off or you have to leave the training tonight online, this will be available on demand on the Jackson Systems webpage, so you can view this at any time. And that's where Gary will live forever, on that website there for the training. So
I'll lose weight, I'll gain weight.
Speaking of,
no mustache.
I'm gonna go stuff my face with Qdoba. Yeah, you take over. Take over, Gary.
All right, so the next video that we do, or the next meeting we have, I guess is a month from now, and we're going to go over, I'm not going to talk about this today, but we are going to talk about home security for residential, which is what we have available through the Honeywell Home app. So this is kind of a little teaser here. You see it's a speaker and a camera. It's got Amazon built in. It's got some cool stuff coming. So make sure you join us next time for that. So let's get into commercial, and let's get into some RedLink and Wi-Fi. So when you look at our portfolio, so these slides are going to be changing because Honeywell, the big Honeywell, $60 billion a year company, has split some of its companies out of it. Our turbocharger division is now a standalone company called Garrett that still makes Honeywell turbochargers. They're just they're separated out from the main company. Honeywell Residential, and which is Honeywell Home, which is who I work for, what's actually Resideo now, and Residential Global Security has been spun off of Honeywell Corporate. So our products are Honeywell Home. It's still Honeywell stuff you're used to. I just work for a company called Resideo, which is the spin-off of Honeywell. So we still have a relationship with the mothership. It's just that we're our own entity with our security side, and give us more focus on bringing cool stuff to market faster, by the way. So now that that's said and done, let's see how we're slicing all this up. So RedLink, when I say RedLink, you should know that means I can do some wireless stuff now. Okay, like if I can't get a wire out to my condenser, or I can't get I don't have enough wires between my air handler furnace and my thermostat, or whatever, my boiler. So RedLink was developed to give contractors a wireless solution instead of pulling wires all through a house like we've done forever, right? It came out in 2008, and everybody's done some RedLink by now, right? Awesome stuff, isn't it? I mean, it connects every time. There is a range. You can find that range. but it's a big one, okay? So I want to make sure that everybody knows that what RedLink is, it's not Wi-Fi. RedLink is a wireless system of devices that saves contractor time and money from not having to go out there and pull wire all through the structure. Sometimes you can't, right? Now, Wi-Fi thermostats and the Honeywell home system here, those are hardwired systems. When I get into my cameras and water leak detectors, those are wireless. You got to plug them in the wall, but they're wireless for everything else. But the thermostats, you have to run wires to them, and they have to be a minimum of 5 wire. You have to have a common on those things. And the reason you have to have a common is if you've got an Apple phone, one of your apps on your Apple phone is a white, square white app with a yellow house in the middle of it. And what that is, that's Apple's home kit. So our thermostats, the home thermostats, the residential ones here, this Lyric Round and the T6 Wi-Fi have Apple chips built in them. Okay? What are you laughing at, Ellen? Okay. They're distracting me here. So those have Apple chips in them. So no matter if you're an Apple lover or a Samsung, Android lover, our stats are gonna hook to both of those on that. And when you get into that home automation stuff, you're gonna have those conversations with the right homeowner of, hey, does this thing support HomeKit? You're gonna have to know what that stuff means. So we're gonna cover that in December, okay? So we're gonna focus on RedLink and the professional side of it. Why would I use that over a Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi thermostat, really no wireless to it. You might have a couple of things, but it's not like wireless to the condenser. It's not wireless to the equipment, where RedLink allows that to happen. If I get away from my router, unless I got some real, a router about the size of this box, something super turbo nice router, I may not. If it's just a normal everyday run-of-the-mill router, I start getting about 200 feet from it. I'm gonna either have to move this thermostat or the router closer to each other, or go buy some sort of a Wi-Fi repeater extender type of a thing. RedLink's different. And we're at Jackson Systems in Indianapolis, right? Can I get a whoop whoop, right? And they got we got a studio audience, by the way. Some of our local talent. And it's a pretty big building, right? So we could set a thermostat on one end of this building and be up here in this far corner, this is the far front corner of the building, and still turn this thing on and off. The distance is way bigger on RedLink, and that's why you want to put it in commercial. So we're going to go through those and kind of separate it out. So some of the things that we do wirelessly is our Honeywell zone system has a wireless adapter you can add to use the RedLink VisionPROs, so you can do wireless stats directly to the panel. The VisionPRO 8000, we're going to go through that and the Prestige in pretty much detail. One of the stats that we have, most people don't realize, is straight electric baseboard RedLink thermostats. So this came out in 2008, and unless you got a lot of baseboard in your market, you really don't think about it. So the eConnect RedLink wireless allows commercial or residential. If you know anything about baseboards, you got that stupid little dial on it. Well, you can rip that dial out, and a little RedLink EIM goes in the place of that dial, and then you mount that thermostat on the wall, and you could do 6 baseboards to one thermostat wirelessly and through your phone. So we did that at Carl's house, by the way. Carl's the GM here. He put some baseboard in his man cave down there, and too cold certain times of the year, so he threw a couple of baseboards in there, and I said, hey, I got one of those. Works great, right? And then we got some accessories with those, so we'll go through them. But Wi-Fi, so when people call, sometimes they get a call from some of the Jackson people, and they're like, hey, my customer's asking for a Wi-Fi RedLink thermostat. No such a thing, okay? Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi, RedLink is RedLink. So the Wi-Fi thermostat, Doesn't work with the EIM for wireless to the furnace. Doesn't work with wireless outdoor sensor. Doesn't work with wireless indoor sensor. Doesn't work with any of that because it's just a hardwired stat that talks to a router. Okay, everybody's Wi-Fi stat is exactly the same as mine as far as how it connects. Right? When I get to RedLink, some people say, well, I don't want to have to buy that gateway to make all that stuff work. There is not a gateway in that picture. All that stuff works without the gateway. The gateway just takes it to the internet. Without the gateway, you got a thermostat that turns your furnace or heat pump on and off, or your Geo, and you got all that wireless stuff, because all the wireless, RedLink, is a function of the thermostat or that module, depending on which one of those two you have in. So you don't need the gateway to do anything other than what the name of it is. Think about what the name of it is. It's a gateway. I'm opening the gate to the internet. If I lose my internet connection on a Wi-Fi or a RedLink with a gateway, it's still running the furnace. It hasn't, all that stuff is just remotely allowing me to log in and access it, right? It's kind of like your bank account. If I lost connection to my bank account, my money's still there, right? So if I lose connection to my furnace, it's still running, unless there's an alert, which these things will tell you, right, that there's a problem, other than I can't see it, right? So we'll go through all that stuff. But RedLink allows me to add a module to be wireless to my indoor or my outdoor unit, wireless to my outdoor temperature. I can do temperature averaging with up to 6 wireless indoor sensors, and I got a portable comfort control for a follow me remote or a 2-story house. It needs to be, I want to take the thermostat upstairs with me. And then I can just add the gateway to the router. And once I add that new gateway to this router, RedLink becomes an Energy Star rated thermostat. And what that means is anything that's Energy Star rated qualifies for the higher rebate with your utility. So in Indy here, it's Duke and Vectren. At least that's who I pay. There's a couple of different others, but where JD and I live, it's Duke and Vectren. So if I go and, well, I did this. I zoned my house, put 3 zones in it. I got 3, it was $150 at the time, and I got times 3 on that. And then I've got, Duke gave me some money too. So make sure when you're putting in Wi-Fi thermostats that you look at, or RedLink stats, you look at your local utilities and see what kind of rebates they got in there. It just may surprise how much money that they'll give you for doing something you're putting in anyway, right? And that's extra to the homeowner. That makes them feel even better when you sold the job and you're out there putting it in. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Duke Energy is going to give you $150 for that RedLink VisionPRO. Holy moly, really? And that makes them feel good, right? So let's look at some of the solutions we're solving. If you've ever had to go move a thermostat and relocate it before wireless, you don't know how long you're going to be there, okay? Now I can just relocate the thermostat by adding a module, moving that sucker upstairs, and I'm done. I don't have enough wires to control my equipment because somebody roughed in, a 4-wire, and I need, 8 wires to do my dual fuel. Then I can just add the module and have 4 heat, 2 cool, 3 IQ devices, and a bunch of other stuff to add. You got a question?
Yeah, Gary, we got a question from online from Alejandro.
What's up, man?
And he wants to know, do you need a EIM for every thermostat that you use wireless?
No. Oh, yeah. For wireless, you have to have the EIM, unless you're using the Honeywell zone panel with a wireless adapter. That can be wireless to the zone panel without the EIM. But if you're just going to do a single install of a furnace coil condenser, whatever, you got to have the EIM and that stat to be wired. You got to have something that sends a signal to a wireless something else.
Per
and
stat.
that's why there's 2 per stat. Yep.
Okay.
Now, if you're zoning, and you got a Honeywell HZ432, which is a 4-zone panel, and you got the wireless adapter hooked to it, I could put 4 RedLink stats to it and be wireless to the zone panel. Okay. Is that cool? Now I've got 3 IAQ devices I can add to that. Once I add this module, it updates that thermostat to do a lot of things, okay? So I can actually have a one heat, one cool VisionPRO and update it. Let's say I put in a one heat, one cool VisionPRO last year, and then I go back out this fall and their furnace needs to be replaced. Well, do I take that 1-year-old thermostat off the wall, or because I just sold them a dual fuel system now, they need more wires. I don't have to take that thermostat off the wall. I can just add that module and reset that to factory defaults, and it'll take and update that one heat, one cool to a 4 heat, 2 cool system, because all the relays are down here now. It defeatures the ones at the thermostat. So if you've ever had a homeowner complain that they can hear the thermostat cut on, if you take a RedLink 8000 and put that module in the basement, it's a silent thermostat. Yep.
Got another question online from James at Service Plus. I think that's the one
Hey, James.
up there in Fishers. Shout out to
How
Fishers.
are you, sir?
James's question: can the EIM be installed in the condenser to make the outdoor to T-stat wireless, or is it just wireless to the air handler via the
So
EIM?
the outdoor module is called, and I think I got it here. There you go. Look at there. I didn't even pay James for that. Okay. We have a wireless outdoor module called an ERM, and that's an equipment remote module is what that means. So the EIM is an equipment interface module. That's for the indoor wireless from the furnace to the thermostat. The ERM is wireless from the condenser to the same thermostat. So I can't use the indoor one outside, okay? But this one can also be a wireless boiler module. So there's a jumper in there I can take out. So if I've got, if I live in a market that's got a boiler for heat and an air handler for cooling, and they're in 2 separate locations, and you got 2 thermostats on the wall, I can add both of those, an interface module upstairs, take the jumper out of the outdoor module, put it at the boiler, and make both of those systems talk to one thermostat wirelessly now. So it's really, really cool. So you need to make sure you're using the outdoor one for the outdoor one. Okay?
Modules, are they weatherproof?
Absolutely. We would not.
You can put them, you can mount them anywhere. They don't have to be.
That right there needs to be, it's not weatherproof. The outdoor one is, because it's made to be outside. Yep.
2 things. One, when we have an in-house question, you got to repeat the question for the people.
Okay.
But also, Romanus, that's a new one. It's
pretty
Romanus wants to know: is there a distance barrier between module and RedLink thermostat, or what's
Yeah. So the question is what's the distance between the thermostat and the module? It's about 8,000 square feet. So it's big, right? It doesn't like steel, right? So we're going to see a video here in a minute. If I've got a package unit up on the roof, I need to make sure I can't like put that in the package unit unless I drop the module down below the ceiling. Okay, so don't pack it in steel. But I haven't been in a house that hadn't reached where I'm trying to get with it. So I mean, I know they exist, but I haven't seen one. Is that cool? Everybody got that? All right. So then if I want to add zones, we just have a wireless adapter we add to our zone panel here, and that picks up the thermostat signals. Because, you know, if I can get to the ductwork and add the zone panel, the problem has been pulling wires up to the 3 zones or whatever, so that eliminates all that. It's all easy. And if I'm using a Jackson Systems panel, I'd have to wire an EIM into each zone and then go put the thermostat on. A little different, but you're achieving the same thing. So that all that stuff works, and you don't have to run wires to those things you used to have to run wires before. Okay? Now we're going to get into the commercial parts of these, because when you first power these up, they ask you, are you residential or commercial, right? And I'll just ask you guys, how many times you see a residential thermostat on a commercial building? Every day, all day, right? And they're usually Focus Pro 5000s, or they could be a White Rogers. It could be just about anything. But one thing's for sure, they were made for a house. Yep.
Another question from Romanus is: what is the IPS rating for the outside module, the ERM?
So IPS meaning the Internet Protocol or something? I don't even know what that means. What does that
Or
mean?
is it like a NEMA
I don't know. He's got NEMA rated? It's not
for
a contact.
outside module?
It meets all the ratings. I'm not sure what he's asking, so
What IPS
he'll have
is?
to email us.
Okay.
Emails, we'll send him the spec sheet on it. So when you choose commercial on this, it has a whole different range of selection. So instead of wake, leave, return, and sleep that you'd code for a residential structure, it's going to say occupied, unoccupied, which buildings run under. It's going to have access to more stages of humidity control for a business. Because if you're using a gas package unit or a split air handler that's got the coil in the correct place, you can use the heat in conjunction with the AC to pull moisture out with this thermostat. So it's awesome. Can't do that when you got it set up as residential. Okay, so we're going to go through all those things. The other thing is when you even if you had a programmable stat on the wall on the business already, if you change them out with one of these, we also give you holidays on there. So you can go through and just hit a checkbox of which holidays you're closed. Because a programmable stat without that is turning the heat on Christmas Day and running it all day in the building. Let's say they're closed for 8 holidays a year. That's 8 days of no high heat bills and no cooling bills that you're putting on that business. There's instant return on investment doing that. These also lock the keypads out, which you just found out the other day how much of a pain in the butt that can be. So I'm going to teach you how to overcome that. But the reason that we have keypad lockouts is to keep the workers out of the business from changing the temperatures around. So when you lock all that out, you can maintain proper temperature. If somebody needs it cooler, then the person in charge can lower it. But they just don't want to allow everybody to go crazy with it. Or you can do some partial lockout where you can say, well, we'll allow you to move the temperature around, but only this much and that much. So you can put some limits behind the scene so you're not just totally locking out your people. So it's however you run your business, or how much if you don't want to get tarred and feathered, I guess, right? Is kind of what my point is. So let's go through all this stuff. Now, some of the cool thing with the Prestige is that it's a 2-part. You have to have the module with the Prestige. It's a 2-wire color touchscreen. We sell, you would think that we wouldn't sell a lot of those on commercial jobs. I sell a lot of those on commercial jobs, especially if it's a retail space where the owner of the business has clientele coming in, and they have a really nice area or whatever they do. They like those stats because they're pretty. You could change the color, so whatever color scheme they got in there, designers like them for that. So you see those in retail or a place where it's an office building and they want it to be kind of cutting edge on their decor. That's what they're buying these for. And they're not that expensive. I mean, for the price of a Nest, you can pick up a Prestige that does a lot more stuff, right? And it's a nice looking stat. But what these do different than something they go buy from Nest or retail or whoever is that these things are actually controlling 4 heat, 2 cool, dual fuel geo or forced or air source on residential. On commercial, this thermostat becomes 3 cool, 4 heat, right? So it can do a bunch of big package units. It's just not going to do 0 to 10 volt DC specialty stuff. You need to kind of move up the commercial ladder if that's what you're into. But if all you're doing is W1, W2, Y1, Y2, G, and economizer and some other things, then you're going to be able to outfit that job with this thermostat. You got a question?
Got a question online from Eric at Dynamic Air
Yes, sir.
concerning the wireless zoning
Yeah.
with the thermostat. So he asked, so if I have a customer that had a True Zone board installed and he is also using an EIM for each thermostat for a total of 4 thermostats, I could uninstall the EIMs and only the zoning board with the wireless thermostat.
Yes. Now there is an issue with that. The issue is that if I take all those EIMs out, you're going to lose some functionality of that thermostat. It's pretty much making when When you have the EIM there, you get everything, all the alerts that thermostat can possibly do. You can program it remotely. Without the EIM, you can view it and make changes to it, and that's fine if that's all you want to do. So you do defeature it a little when you just use the thermostat and the wireless adapter, but it works just fine. Okay, and if it's a cost thing, most people will take my zone panel and do an EIM in zone 1, and that allows them somewhere to tie the humidifier or dehumidifier, some IQ device they have, and then they use the stats wirelessly to the module for the other zones to cut the cost down. So I get what he's trying to do. So yes, you can. Okay, but with those EIMs, which is a nice segue, I don't know how this keeps happening, but thank you. I've got 4 dry contact spots on the bottom of this EIM. I can put float switch, instead of breaking the red wire, or the however you break your float switch wire, where you do break the red, right? And your drain pan fills up with water, your float switch makes, and then you cut your power off. Well, if I cut the power off with this, the alert I'm going to get remotely is I've lost my power. It's not, I'm not going to get the alert that might have caused the problem. Okay, so when you tie, excuse me, if I tie my float switch in to my module and choose system shutdown alert, and I get a drain pan full of water from a coil or my 90% furnace, it'll shut the system down but not kill the power, so I can still active interface with my system, okay, which is what you want. Because if I kill the power, my stat's dead, I'm not getting anything from it. So that's a really cool feature of RedLink. And if I got a commercial job with a bunch of rooftops, or a bunch of splits rather, above the ceiling here, I can daisy chain float switches all through those, and any of them that fill up, it's gonna email me or email the facility manager of the building that, hey, you're not going to have air conditioning there, and then you can roll one of our customers out to that building, right? So I can also put in dirty filter, like any dry contact you can tie to this system, you can get an alert from it, okay? And you got 4 spots to do that. We also package a supply and return sensor with that Prestige. In residential, that'll give you Delta T monitoring. Don't recommend doing Delta T monitoring on the commercial side, because you're bringing in fresh air a lot of times, and that'll give you different temperatures that you're not looking for, or zoning, because zoning is going to give you different temperatures, different stuff going on inside that plenum as you're shutting down dampers and stuff. But adding those sensors gives you a lot more things you can do, like coil freeze protection, or if I lost the thermostat for some reason, that return sensor in there will act as a backup thermostat. So if I lose my thermostat, it'll never let that building or house get colder than 62 or hotter than 82. So it's a nice backup to have. All right, so when we get into the systems, we're going to start with the light commercial features of a Prestige. So I have a lot more dehumidification options than in residential. In residential, I've got 3 basically. I can overshoot the cooling 1, 2, or 3 degrees, right? Or I can, if I've got a variable speed furnace or air handler, there's usually a dehum loop that you can wire into. I can do that with the stat, or I can use a whole house dehumidifier. In commercial, I've got minimum on time, I've got high humidity comfort reset with minimum on time, reheat, which is using the furnace or the backup electric strip to help dehumidify in the summer months. So that's all comes alive when you choose commercial on that thermostat. Then I've got my remote setback. So if I have a church or something, and I've got my sanctuary, but then I got a bunch of Sunday school rooms, right? And they're only open like on a Saturday, well, depending on when you go to church, Saturday or Sunday when you got your Sunday school classes going on. How do I turn that on or make it automatic somehow? Well, you can do press initiate occupancy where they can go in and push the button and it runs and they push it when they leave. Or you can put this wireless remote setback switch in each of those rooms and tie it to each thermostat that would ran it. And it's got a receiver and a sensor, kind of like a security thing you have at your house. And the first person that walks in the Sunday school room or whatever, it'll turn it to occupied mode. And then 30 minutes or so after they leave, it'll go back to unoccupied. So it gives you some nice. And this is the same one we use on our commercial stuff on the Honeywell side. No, you got to have a thermostat with this. Okay. Now, economizer feature. If my economizer occupied wire needs to be tied into my thermostat, then we have a nice place for you to tie that in. But if that wire is not being used and you're not having anything tie into that ALA terminal, then I could choose time of day. So I could have my electrician on my commercial job put a relay in, low voltage relay, and tie it over to my system. And if I'm in unoccupied mode, I can shut the whole lights down, and then when the thermostat goes to occupied, it'll make the relay and turn the lights back on. So you can kind of interface that and get some nice lower cost energy management with the stat that probably didn't even know it would do that, right? So you can totally do that. And then this part of our install manual or the product data manual, which JD can get you or Ellen can get you, we tell you when that thermostat mode allows that terminal to be on and when it's supposed to be off in economizer, and how you wire that thing up, which is really simple. And then if I'm doing time of day, I pick time of day, and it will be on, which means the lights will be on when it's occupied temporarily, or somebody overrode the occupied mode. And it's off, unoccupied, standby, or non-programmable. So it's got to be programmable for that feature to work on that stat. Then I can go through and start picking different things to do with those dry contacts. So I could do averaging, and say if you've ever done averaging for temperature with older Honeywell stats, you had to do a series parallel wiring with that thing. Did I say that right? Series parallel wiring. Okay. This is why the wireless sensors are so much better. But you may be changing out a commercial thermostat that still has the hardwired sensors in. You don't have to take those out. As long as they're working, you can just plug it right back into the Prestige or the RedLink VisionPRO. They just have to be 10K ohm or 20K ohm. So on the commercial ones, if you get the C7189U, that's the residential hardwired indoor sensor, I have to do 4 or 9 in series parallel because it's using square roots to determine how that temperature is being averaged. Okay. When I get into TR21, which is our commercial ones, they're all 20K. I need to do 4 of them. Same reason why I need to do 4 on the residential version. But in the commercial one, I can mix 20K and 10K together and get weighted averages. So if I put a TR21A, which is a 10K, and in series parallel with TR21s, this one will get 50% of the building. This will do 225%. I got to equal 100, right? And then I can do TR21As, and it'll give me, I could take 2 sensors and do 50% load. It just has to be the correct sensor. So those product data books, and we probably just send out a link on that. All those diagrams are in there for you. So this just lists all the different sensors that are compatible with it, which are pretty much all the ones you're using on any other Honeywell stat. We don't have sensors that don't work with other stats. They all work with the same stats, okay? So when I get into alerts on dry contacts, what the building owner or the homeowner gets is like a check engine light, but you're going to get more info, okay? But they get a check engine light. It also gives you the company, you can upload your logo there. So if there is an alert, your whole company logo comes up on there so they know who to call. But I can do a bunch of different things with my dry contacts. So I'm going to go through some of them. You have to pick which ones you're going to do. Then you have to tell it which S terminal you're going to tie that particular dry contact to. And then we allow you to toggle our contact between normally open or normally closed. Your contact may have something different. So if I got a water leak and I got a float switch in there or some sort of a flood detector, it'll email you and it'll email the homeowner, it'll email the business owner. They're going to know they got a water problem before there's a problem or a big one. So we can eliminate that stuff or minimize it. How many times you run up on one of these? Every summer, right? And what do you tell the homeowner when they call and say, I got a big block of ice on top of my furnace? What do you tell them? You tell them to turn it off and turn the fan on, and I'll see you in a couple of hours, right? Well, the Prestige and the VisionPRO, if I've got that supply sensor over the coil, before it gets a big frosty mess of ice, it'll actually tell you it's too cold in here. It'll shut the condenser off, turn the fan on for you, and that way when you show up, it's not going to be a ball of ice. But it is going to be freezing up for a reason. They freeze up for a reason, and it's a problem. I'm losing freon, or I don't have the right airflow, or whatever that reason is. So that'll drive the coil colder, and we're going to pick it up, and it's going to be an alert before there's an issue. So that can drive that to a whole different customer experience for you. Flooded areas, full drain pan, put that sucker in there and get an alert that drain pan's full. If I live 30 minutes from Jackson, so if my drain pan was full of water right now and I got an alert, I could shut my heat off remotely. So that's not, but my system's going to do it for me, and then I'm going to know. But what if I was in Disney World for a week and it was -2 degrees in Indiana, which never gets that cold here, right? It gets cold here. I would want to know that I got no heat, right? So this is not just going to tell me I have no heat. It's going to tell me that I've got that water, I'm producing water is the reason it's happening. So it gives you some idea of what's going on. Yes?
Got a question from Alan at Golden Rule.
Yes, sir.
His internet cut out. Did you say the sensors that come with the RedLink stats or work with the RedLink stats are 10K or 20K? And what did you say is the difference?
Yeah, so the 10K ohm sensor and the 20K ohm sensor both allow you to, like if I set my thermostat up as a 20K ohm commercial thermostat and I add a 10K and a 20K together, that's when I can start getting some weighted averages. When I'm in residential, I'm probably just going to use 10K ohm. I can use 20K, but I have to tell it what the difference is, because if I don't, my temperatures are going to be off, which may be, you had a sensor that was reading off, we were talking about a minute ago. You might want to check to make sure that somebody didn't move it to a 20K ohm when it should have been 10, okay? It could be off. It could be why you're reading 70 degrees when it should be reading 40, okay? So I hope I answered your question there, sir. Now, if you've got a commercial job that has walk-in coolers and freezers, you can monitor those with the Prestige or the RedLink VisionPRO as well. All you have to do is have a bulb sensor that we make, and the refrigeration unit already has, it's got the thing that hangs up inside the box, right? You're just going to mount this inside the box, and you're going to run 2 wires to the module, and you're going to set the dry contact, and when it hits a certain temperature, it'll close it, and that'll email you and tell you that you're going to ruin $15,000 worth of frozen food if you don't get there. So that's a big time return on investment to a guy that has like a small little market or something and has a fryer in there and a freezer. I mean, every convenience store that you ever walk in has a residential thermostat on it and a walk-in cooler. You could sell them this stuff and do all that mess. And you'll find them. I got a guy in Kentucky, he's got 90 stores and he views everything by using RedLink right there in Bardstown, Kentucky, and sees the whole state. And he's not paying any monthly fees for this stuff. Okay, so you can keep your walk-in cooler or your freezer from having spoiled food. So when we get into the different things that'll work with it, once I got the thermostat in there, I can add a gateway to go to the internet. I can also add a wireless outdoor sensor that if you've done any RedLink, you know that you need to have that outdoor sensor for ventilation lockouts or lockouts for your humidifier to keep the windows from getting wet. You don't really need it that often in commercial because you're not doing those things, but residential you're going to need it. Make sure that lately I've had some calls where people are not using lithium batteries on the outdoor. Those you have to use lithium batteries on the outdoor camera, or excuse me, outdoor module temperature sensor. It's getting late, and it'll last 5 years if you use those. It'll last 2 weeks if you don't. Okay. The portable comfort control. Oh, and I can put up to 16 furnace or thermostats and use one outdoor sensor. Okay. No, you don't need one per unit. You can use up to 16. Same thing on the portable comfort control. If I got a customer or a business owner that don't want to go Wi-Fi or don't want to do remote connectivity because they don't allow people to hook to the internet, you can apply that portable handheld, and I can download up to 16 thermostats to that one handheld and toggle between them and make changes that way. If I just do one system, one thermostat, one portable comfort control, I can take it upstairs and make it read from that device. So it's like I'm taking the thermostat to bed with me and then give it control of the downstairs in the morning. Do you have a question?
Yes. On the outdoor thermostat, the
Outdoor sensor?
outdoor sensor.
Yes, sir.
Wireless.
Yes, sir.
Where would you want to place that?
Stick it where the sun don't shine, sir. Snow, up above snow grade. So he's asking me, where do I place the wireless outdoor sensor? In a comical way, I said stick it where the sun don't shine, but really and truthfully, that's what we're doing. Make sure you put it where sun don't hit it, because that'll make it read off. Don't put it under the dryer vent, because that's going to make it hot. Don't put it right on the ground, because it's going to snow. So it needs to be up, somewhere where people aren't going to grab it and walk off with it. Or I got it in my house I lived at in Northwest Indiana. I had it in the tree house, because there wasn't the only shady spot at my house up there was a tree house. So anywhere you can get it shaded to where, just like you would if it was hardwired, where would you run it? Yeah, that's fine. It just needs to be somewhere where the ambient temperature is going to be what you would read to charge the system, which is, you don't want to be off on that, right? So same thing there. Indoor sensors, I can add up to 6 if I take the thermostat out of the loop. If I leave the thermostat in the loop, I can add 5, okay? And I can do averaging from 1 to 5, okay, or 6. Well, that sensor is also a humidity sensor. So if you've got a clean room in a commercial building where it's got to be this humidity all the time, whether I'm heating or cooling, you can add a TH8321 RedLink stat or a Prestige that's got the sensor built in the stat. Add the indoor sensor, and I can hook a humidifier and a dehumidifier to it, and I don't have a differential. I can run it to net zero, so to speak. If I let the thermostat switch over, you got a 15% swing. So if I want a 0 deadband, I need to add either 2 of those sensors or a stat that's got the sensor in it and the sensor, if that makes sense. I can also take, like at my house, I got a dehumidifier and a humidifier. So in my bedrooms upstairs, I've got the sensor, and I told my Prestige to sense humidity in the winter from upstairs, because that's where I'm trying to keep dry, is my bedrooms. And then, or that's where I want to keep the most of it dry. My dehumidifier in my basement's where I got the downstairs one. So, because I got different, humidity acts different depending on the season, right? So you can actually add that and tell where you want to pull humidity readings from that for each device. And then when I get into my sensors, the thermostat's going to ask me, is it main level or thermostat doing it, or am I averaging these, or am I just using, I just want to see what the humidity is in my crawl space, because I added a wireless sensor in my crawl space. It's encapsulated with a dehumidifier, and all I care about is seeing what that humidity is. You can do that with these stats. You just have to tell it that it's the crawl space I'm looking at, not the house, okay? And you see that on these encapsulated crawl spaces where they've, dried it all out, right? So that gives you some stuff. Entry exit remotes that are for people that don't want to do internet, but they still want to shut down their stats. Like if I walk out of my business, I can hit that little thing on the wall and set back 16 of those thermostats to away mode or unoccupied mode. So it's just, if you want to use that, it's available. Same thing with wireless vent and filter boost. In residential, I could put an ERV in to run all my bathroom fans instead of bathroom fans. Put that wireless control in each bathroom, and then whenever I take a shower, I need more to pull more moisture out of there. I just hit 20, 40, or 60 minutes on that wireless device, and that'll give me a control for my for that. Or I can use it to just turn the fan on to make my filter work better, or my UV light work better if I'm not running it all the time. So that Prestige, very powerful for residential or commercial. You just have the thermostat that's 2-wire, the module that mounts at the equipment, and you got a duct sensor for the supply and return to give me freeze protection from my coil, to give me a temporary stat status if I lose my my system. And it's 4 heat, 2 cool if it's residential. It's 4 cool, 3 heat if it's commercial. So it's really nice. All right, any question about Prestige? We're going to cram some VisionPRO in here. So this is my most popular stat for light commercial jobs, because it just does everything. I mean, it's really my most popular stat, period. VisionPROs just about do it all, don't they? They're great stats. So a couple things that a lot of people don't realize, though, is that I can take that out of the box and hook it up and tie it straight into my equipment, or I could add a module to be wireless, or a wireless adapter to be wireless to my zone panel. And this is an example of what I was talking about earlier. If I mount this module up in the package unit of the commercial job, I want to make sure that I add the wireless adapter, which is the same one we use to make our zone panel wireless. There's a ABCD terminal here where I can add that module to. So if I've got that up in a package unit, I want to drop that below the ceiling line, and then I can leave it in the package unit. But if I don't drop that below the ceiling line, the steel roof that's up underneath the roof on a commercial job will cause interference. And if I don't have it, this being inside the package unit will cause interference. So if you just tie this to it, drop it down below the ceiling, you can connect to your thermostat in the space, okay? So we've got thermostat directly in, thermostat wireless to the module, or thermostat wireless. We're going to watch a quick connection video between the thermostat and the module, just so you can get in your mind how simple this stuff is when you're out on the job, just pressing connect and making it and hooking it all up, okay?
Welcome to the installation guide for the all-new VisionPRO 8000. In this video, we'll cover how to install the equipment interface module and the new VisionPRO, how to power optional RedLink wireless accessories, and how to perform initial thermostat setup. To skip ahead or review a specific section, just click on the chapter menu below. Let's get started. The all-new VisionPRO 8000 can be installed 3 different ways: wired directly to the equipment, wirelessly with an EIM, or wirelessly with a True Zone adapter. This video will only demonstrate installation with an EIM. To learn more about installing with a True Zone wireless adapter, please visit forwardthinking.honeywell.com. To install the all-new VisionPRO 8000 with an equipment interface module, first mount the EIM near the equipment or on the equipment itself. Use screws and anchors as appropriate for the mounting surface. If you're mounting an EIM inside a metal cabinet, such as a commercial rooftop unit, we recommend using a wireless adapter for extended range. Wire applicable equipment to the corresponding EIM terminals based on the designations listed in your install guide. To install the VisionPRO 8000, first separate the wall plate from the thermostat. For drywall, drill holes that are 3/16 of an inch wide. For plaster, drill holes that are 7/32 of an inch wide. Mount the wall plate using the included screws and anchors. Next, insert supplied AA alkaline batteries for primary or backup power. Connect power and common from the EIM to the RC and C terminals at the thermostat. You can also use a separate 24-volt transformer to power the thermostat. Push excess wire back into the wall opening once it's connected. Then, activate the coin cell battery by removing the tab. The battery will save time and date during a power loss. Finally, align the thermostat with the bottom of the wall plate and snap it into place. System power can now be reapplied. To power optional RedLink accessories, install batteries in each device and set them aside. Please note the indoor and outdoor sensors, entry-exit remote, and vent and filter boost remote each require additional setup. Please follow the on-screen prompts during the thermostat installer setup. Next, hook up the RedLink Internet gateway to the customer's router or modem with an Ethernet cable. Then connect the gateway's power cord to an electrical outlet that isn't controlled by a wall switch. To perform initial thermostat setup, follow the prompts on screen to select the type of system you're installing. When you see the prompt, Thermostat Controls and Equipment module, select Yes and press Next. Press and quickly release the Connect button on the EIM, and make sure the connected light is flashing green. If the connected light doesn't flash green, another system may be in listening mode. Exit the listening mode at the other system and try again. While the connected light flashes green on the EIM, press Next on the thermostat. After a short delay, the screen will display Thermostat Connected. Press Next as directed. You'll then be prompted to connect RedLink accessories. Select Yes to connect new accessories or No to configure additional options and finish setup. If you selected Yes while the Press Connect on New Accessories screen is displayed, you can begin adding new accessories. Press and release the Connect button on each new accessory to link it to the thermostat. After a short delay, check the thermostat to confirm the connection. Continue adding accessories by pressing and releasing the Connect button on each device, and checking the thermostat to confirm connection. A countdown timer will display while the thermostat is in listening mode. If it detects no activity for 15 minutes, it will automatically exit. Please note, accessories must be at least 2 feet away from the EIM during the linking process. Touch Done at the thermostat after all new accessories are connected. Complete initial setup by selecting the desired options. Touch Done to finish. The thermostat will then display its home screen, along with an alert message prompting you to set the time and date. After this step, setup is complete. For more information on installation, wiring diagrams, or operation, see your install guide or visit forwardthinking.honeywell.com.
Okay, so nice little video. The thing I love about installing these RedLink things is how you look in front of a homeowner or business owner, because you're not tearing their house up to put it in. You know, you're not having to, rip up some, old wall that they're, they may say it's okay, but secretly they're like freaked out, So this is just like security, where you just go in and place stuff down, push a button, and walk out. Some of the things that you may not know that the RedLink VisionPRO does is on the bottom there's a micro SD card slot. So if you and I go out and sold 40 of these thermostats at a building, you know how boring it'd be to go to every 40 of them and set them all up? It'd be boring, right? So I could take an micro SD card, set one up, save the setup, go to the other 39, and load them up instantly, just by putting that card in, load device, load the setting, and transfer my settings to all 40 stats. One of my great contractors down in Georgetown, Indiana, down there, they had Catholic school. I was with them last week on a Catholic school, and he put a bunch of these stats in, and he set them all up at the shop. So when his tech went out there, they're already set up. So I thought that was kind of cool. But you can do that, right? If you notice in there, I didn't need a book to set that thermostat up. We kind of I've been a tech a long time. I was still a technician or working for a heat and air company when VisionPROs came out in 2004. And I can remember being at a customer's house and not having a book and not knowing what setup 240 was. It's not fun, right? So we made it to where you don't need the book. If you just hit the help button, let's see if I got a picture of one, like right here. If you hit that help button, that part of the install manual comes up on the stat, on the Prestige and there, and you can just scroll through and read what that setup means. But we do have a proper book for you, and if you'll just email the Jackson team here, we can send a copy out to you. All right, so let's get into the three different models. So I've got an 8321, and if you've been through my classes before, you know these mean something. So that means a thermostat Homes division. That's 5-year warranty is what it means to you because it's a pro install. The 8000 is the family of thermostat. The 3 and the 2 means it's got 3 heat, 2 cool capable worth of relays in there. And then the 1 means it's got a humidity sensor on board. So the 8320 is the same stat as this with no humidity sensor, right? The 8110 is the same stat as these without a humidity sensor, and there's only enough relays to do 1 heat, 1 cool, right? So that's why we have 3 different versions of it. If I add the module to any one of those 3, it makes them 4 heat, 2 cool, and 3 IAQ devices. So it'll upgrade all 3. But if I upgrade this one, I've got a humidity sensor, don't need to worry. These 2 don't, so I can upgrade them, but then I can add the wireless outdoor sensor to give me the humidity part of it. You got a question? Okay. So that plus that equals wireless and more capability, okay? Then, and I know I'm getting through this, but I'm just trying to, this is the light commercial features on the VisionPRO. So it's almost exactly the same as the touchscreen, the Prestige, the color touchscreen, except for I don't have a whole lot of room. This isn't a big information screen. I've only got these 2 lines here where I can roll messages through. So that's why you got to scroll through and read stuff when there's information in there. But I can do exactly the same thing on my S terminals that I was doing on my others by adding these 10K or 20K ohm sensor. Or I can add the module, and now I've got 4 dry contact sensor terminals for it. I've got, this is what my alert looks like. Instead of a big orange check engine light, I set all that up, and it would just come up on the stat that I've got a leak. This thermostat works with all those wireless devices the same as the Prestige did. I just got to add that. So I can add web services, I can add commercial, residential around the same stat. I can go directly to the equipment or wireless or zoning wireless with it. I can add all kinds of float switches and dry contacts to it. I can add all these indoor air quality devices to it. I've got you know, I can't think of anything 25 tons and under that you can't do with it. And you still got some free, there's no cost on hooking it to the internet. There's no cost on how many properties you got. You could have 240 locations, and we're not going to charge you no more than if you only had one, because we don't charge anything. Once you buy it and put it in, that's it, okay? Now I've got to get connected. So on Wi-Fi stats, I'm just going straight to the router. RedLink, I got to put the router in, which is actually my gateway, okay? So I need to find whether they've got a wireless or a non-wireless router, doesn't matter, because the back of a wireless router has a hardwire connection, right? If this was a business, I would find the IT guy, and he's going to tell me where to plug this thing in at. So the old router was a black THM 6000R. We changed it to an R7001. The white one has the new Energy Star demand response updates to get your top tier rebate. So the black one does not qualify. So you have to upgrade your router if you want to get those rebates. Upgrade the gateway rather. So to put it in, it's really simple. I take it out of the box. I find the business or the homeowner's router. I plug it straight into it. I plug it in the wall, okay? And then we saw on the video how you incorporate that in. It's just one of your RedLink devices. So as you're pushing the wireless outdoor sensor button, you can walk to the gateway next and press it. So each gateway can handle 4 thermostats. So if I'm doing 4 thermostats, I would have to push that gateway button 4 times, once for each install of each thermostat, right? And then I'm going to do add device, and then I'm done. Then once you add that to the system, now we've got to take and allow this business owner or homeowner to have it on their phone and on their computer, right? So the first thing you're going to do is go to mytotalconnectcomfort.com. It's going to ask your customer to type in their email, retype their email, password, retype their password, their name, security questions, and stuff like that. Then it's going to send them a verification email. This is no different than anything else you sign up online for, right? It's just got to prove it's them. And then once that's done, then it's going to ask, where is this location? What's the name of it? Because if it's a commercial business, they may call their stores by numbers, right? Like store number 285, 286. So that's what they know. So I can type in my location. This is store number 286, and I can have unlimited parts of that. I could have 100 thermostats in there. It doesn't matter. I can have 2,000 thermostats in there. Doesn't matter. That's what I'm going to call the location. So it'll give you location first, and I can click on that. Then it's going to open up all the thermostats in that location. Okay? I'm going to put location address. Then I've got 6 email addresses that I can put in there. Those are the people who are going to get the alerts. I've got 6 text message numbers I can put in there. So I can choose whether to get text, emails, or both. Okay. Then on the bottom of the gateway and in a card in the box of the gateway, there's 2 numbers. It's a MAC ID and a CRC code. Every 4 thermostats has to have that. You have to load that in. Okay. So it'll ask you what those 2 numbers are. Then, because of security reasons, we're going to make sure that this isn't some internet robot setting this up. Okay, so you're going to have to physically do something for our system to know that it's not a robot, right? So it's going to say, go to your thermostat, change it to whatever temperature it gives you, and it tells you to turn it to heat 72. It might tell you to do cooling 75. I've seen different, that you never know what it's going to spit out at you. And then when you do that, then you're going to go over there and click that box and verify you did it. Then you click next, and then it's going to say setup complete. And then your customer is going to have this flowing into their phone and to their computer. Okay, that's the user interface for remotely interface with the system. Okay, I noticed I said interface like 5 times there. Apologize. So I got all of my functions that I could do at the stat I can do on my phone or on my computer. And so this is an example of locations, okay? So here's my New York house, but here's my Boston store, right? So this is a really rich guy that owns a bunch of stuff, apparently, right? So I've got something going on at the San Francisco outlet in my Washington warehouse, right? So when there's a problem, when I log in on my computer on my phone, it's going to be red on my property, and then I click on that red, and then once I click down on it, it's going to tell me which thermostats I've got issues with in that particular location. And instead of you running around trying to figure out which 100 thermostats are the problem, I'm telling you which one it is, okay? Then I can start adding people. So let's say that JD and I work for, we're the facility managers of some big, store that bought a bunch of these stats from this contractor here. Well, let's say that I have the Anderson store and you've got the Muncie store, right? I know, right? Ball State, baby, you graduated from there. What are you saying? What's wrong with Muncie? So JD wouldn't want to get alerts from my store because he covers the Muncie store. So you can go in here and you can give access to your facility managers based on what their responsibilities are. So if this guy covers this store, then he don't need all locations alerts. He's just going to focus on the building he needs to be focused on. So those are cool things you can do with our free app, okay? Then we have the thermostat settings where you can go in and say if the temperature gets higher than this or lower than that. Those are your basic alerts, right? You go through and you set that up on one of them, and then at the very bottom it says apply this to all thermostats in my location. That way you don't have to go to all the stats and set those perimeters. It'll globally address it to each stat together, okay? Then I download the app if I'm Android or Google, depending on which phone system you have. Download your app, and then you use the same username and password that you logged on the internet with to get into your app, right? When you invite somebody else to connect, it will their email. You use their email. Their email is always going to be their username. Then they create their own password, so they have their own access to the system. If you fire that person, then you can delete them from it without them ever you going near them. It's kind of like when you don't pay your gas bill. They don't come nowhere near your house when they shut the gas off, do they? It's just like, damn, it don't work anymore. Group scheduling is what kind of puts the icing on the cake with all this, because it's not full-blown energy management, right? This is like, I don't need a lot of bells and whistles, but I want my business owner wants to lock his keypad out. He wants to view all of his properties remotely. He wants to know when his air conditioning goes out in his computer server room, because that's kind of important to know. And all this will all do that for you. But if I've got multiple properties, I don't want to go into each thermostat and program it, right? I want to program my Lexington, Kentucky store different than my Chicago, Illinois store. There are two different weather patterns there, right? So we have a separate website that we develop for your customer to be able to group schedule all those properties without, and he could do it, he or she could just do it with, here's the ones I want to program the same, and click them and make it happen, okay? So the first thing you go to is honeywell.com/group scheduling, okay? You use the same username and password that you use to log into your Total Connect account. And then what you get is you can select your thermostats, you can send a temporary hold, you can send weekly schedule changes out from that website. It's all free, okay? So here's what it would look like. I log in. Here's this particular location and all the thermostats in it. Excuse me. Here's this location and all the thermostats in it. I can click select all and make one change and apply it to all thermostats in all my locations. Or I can go to each location and pick the stats I want the same. Maybe one is different and I got a mixture of holds and weekly schedules. So you can go in and do all that. So this is the create temporary hold screen, and I can go in and say set point to whatever my temporary hold is, right? And I could say I need it to be on cooling, I need it to be 68 degrees. I need that to go until the end of the summer or whatever date I pick at what time of day, and it'll stay on hold until that's over. Because you might have a month of the church where it's Vacation Bible School, and we've got a daycare center during those months or whatever. So it totally gives you flexibility to do all that. Then you can save all those, because if they're recurring, you can go back and just reapply it and change your dates. If you go to modify weekly schedule, let's say that I picked all 3 of my stats in this one location, then I can go through and change each of my occupied or unoccupied periods, make a change right in front of me with heat and cool settings, pick which days of the week those are going to be applied to, and rock the planet. And that way I'm like, well, I'm sitting here Monday morning, or I'm going to look at weather.com, or I can just click on my app, because if you click on the weather on the Honeywell app, it'll give you the whole 5-day forecast for that area. And then you can say, well, I need to probably switch that over to heat, or I might need to run cooling during the day and heating at night or something. So you can totally reprogram those to do whatever you want to do, okay? And then you can apply it in groups, or apply it all at once, or do them one at a time. So is that cool? That's a very, very cool thing. That makes it worth it. Before, when we were doing this, people go to RedLink to do like commercial stuff because it's not expensive. I can do what I need to do without, buying a full-blown energy management system, which is great, but I just don't need it here, right? The biggest complaint was being able to group schedule, and now you can do it. You got a question, sir?
Yeah, on the automatic changeover, is the temperature differential fixed, or can you?
So his question is on automatic changeover, can I, when you set up our thermostats, you can go from 2 to 9 degree temperature differential swing on auto changeover. On commercial mode, you can separate out each stage. So if I want to do stage 1 and spread it out between stage 1 and 2, I can totally do it. And there's a different range you can do there. So commercial does a lot of stuff, okay? More than we can cram in, and I'm already 15 minutes over. So, and if you've been with me, it's hard to get me to stop. But all this stuff is very cool. If you've got a RedLink system already in your house, if you want to go to group scheduling, you can totally go and make it work. I saw you either have 2 systems, or you got 2 locations on yours. I've got 2 locations on mine. My mother lives in Nashville, Tennessee, where I grew up. So I've got my house here in Indy, and then I've got her location down in Tennessee, right? Y'all want to turn my mom's heat up? No, I'm kidding. She would kill me because she would know. But if something was wrong, I would be able to know that. If I was in charge of programming or stat for her, if this was a business, I could just go there and do it, or I could go there and do it. So it works in residential or commercial, okay? All right, that's all I got. Anybody got any questions before we call this a day here? If you're NATE certified, make sure you put your NATE number, get them to Jackson, so we can send that off tomorrow to NATE. And thank you for your business. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
okay?
thanks for coming,
Thank you,
Gary.
Ellen.
Give Gary a round of applause, everybody. Yeah.
It ain't my birthday.
But as I mentioned earlier, this training will be stored on our website, so you guys can share this with your team if they want to watch this at a later time. You can, of course, always contact Jackson Systems directly. You can reach us at that toll-free number, which is 888-652-9663. And one of the greatest things about these thermostats from Honeywell is we will imprint them for free with your actual logo on there, and we'll do it same day or next, because we got the imprint shop here. We don't outsource that. We do it here for you, the contractor. So take advantage of that. Thank you for attending tonight's training, and we hope to see you at the next one. Have a good night, everybody.